crash landed on the Full Earth Workshop, where we take on a RC Tiger 1 tank, an all-metal build. Hi, my name is Doug, and this is very exciting episode 1, where we survey all of the parts for the build. This is where all of your electronics go. There's a nice little Velcro here that holds your battery into place. I've got to say, after looking through this, at least at first glance, the quality really looks terrific on these die-cast parts. You can see the torsion spring suspension. You'll notice that this was a surprise to me. The axle arms are reversed on one side and the other. Now, I did some research into the tank itself and found out this is the way the original tank was. You can see there's a nameplate right here that is right along next to these screws. This nameplate is cast. However, although it looks great as a model, it still bothers me that it won't really look scale with this logo in place. I'll have to figure out some way to cover that up. This is the way that the electronics tray goes into place. I'm not sure it lines up with the screws offhand. I'll have to check that out a little bit. The wall should go against the transmission here, as I'm showing. There are some screw bosses available for that transmission. A little later, we'll take a look at the difference between the Mato and the Heng Long Ultimate transmission. Here I have a couple of cannon barrels. Both are aluminum. One is indicated from Mato as being the recoiling one, and the one that is gray here was the one that I had previously. So you can see there's a fit issue. I'll have to go in and maybe grind that out of it to make it work a little smoother. So inside this bag we have a very impressive transmission. This is the 5-to-1 transmission from Mato. As I pulled this out of the bag when it arrived, it was like, wow, this is much more sturdy than the pictures would indicate. There's a lot of weight to it. The axles are a bit longer than the Hanglong Ultimate transmission that I had previously. Now comes the comparison between the Mato unit and one from Hanglong. This is the Ultimate Edition transmission. I actually ordered the Hanglong transmission first. It's going to be too fast for a Tiger tank. So I went and bought this Mato transmission. And I think one thing that's impressive here, the Hanglong unit looks impressive from far away. I think the Mato is a little more impressive because it's steel in the outer housing. But the Mato feels just a little higher quality. The mesh of the gear seems a little better. Listen to this. I'll have to see about the length of the axle because it is longer on the Mato. But this apparently was the proper one for the Tiger 1. Now from Clark, this is their universal cannon recoil. Everything in here, all these parts are 3D printed from an FDM machine. It's just fine with me. It just shows they're doing this in very, very low production. It appears that Clark Models is a very small company out of the UK. They're known for their electronics being very nice and a good price on them. It shows you here that they're probably not selling a lot of these recoil units, or if they are, maybe they're tooling up to be able to make them injection molded. There's also a very, very small servo that comes with this and mounts on the side. There are no instructions, so I guess I'm going to have to be an eagle eye, go online and see what other people have done with this. Apparently, this servo attaches to the side of this recoil unit. I have good reports on it that it works really, really well. This is still kind of a new feature, this recoil, and it's being introduced now even in the low-end Hanglong tanks. I think as people get used to using this, they're also making sure that they can fire BBs with it or have IR with it as well. So what I'm hoping to do is continue to shoot BBs with this while I also recoil. Now from RC Tank Legion Shop and Stanley Tie, these are bushings that are a universal size. So if there is any play in the transmission, and I understand that the Taigen and the Mato transmissions now have really started to tighten up their output shafts so they don't wobble as much. But apparently this bearing should help the tank keep from throwing its tracks if there's too much wobble in this transmission. Now this is the other Clark part that I have, and this is the TK40 with the S-Bus, and I bought this from Stanley there at RC Tank Legion. This was suggested also by Stanley. This is a very large speaker that I'll be making a box for to be able to mount it in the back. This speaker is branded Visiton, and from the research that I did online, I guess Visiton is very well known for making these small drivers that are very high quality. The build quality is terrific. You can see the size of the magnet here, and the skiver, which is the area around, is made of rubber. Overall, very good quality. It's called the FRS-8. That is highly recommended. It's an 8-ohm speaker, and I believe that is the output of the TK board by Clark. By the way, I was able to find the chassis and also the top of the chassis for, I believe it was $120 online for both of them, which is pretty good. So there's quite a variability in the cost. Here is one part, and guess what? I ordered two of these parts that mount on the back here. You can see one that I've attached. One thing that's really nice here is these vents do go up and down. You see there's a little latch attached to each one, and I really like that detail. Here are some of the other metal parts that I got. These are Mato parts. I'm rather impressed by this. However, they're going to need a little bit of sanding to be able to fit into the proper holes. I found out it was very fiddly. I think when it's plastic, the parts tend to give way a little bit easier. These are the metal clasps for the tubes that go into the Feifel air cleaners on the back. Here are some of the tools that I decided to get in metal. I have these in plastic, and truthfully that would have been just fine. As a matter of fact, a little bit easier to paint. I decided to get these in metal because I figured that some of the metal itself on the shovels and the axe and things might look pretty good if they were the original materials. I also like that they screw onto the back with little nuts. But again, I'm going to have to drill out each one of the holes that they fit down into because this is not an interference fit. And here's the fire extinguisher that goes in the back, and the holes will have to be drilled out there as well. You see the axe. Look at all these little nuts that I have. Hopefully we'll have enough to go around. I might recommend, though, getting just a little parts bin or something to put all of these in because, as you notice when I open these bags, these parts just go everywhere. And you're going to be giving some up to the carpet. I can almost guarantee it. Looking back into the back section, it fits pretty well into the chassis. This back wall with all the parts on it, including the Feifel air cleaners, the mufflers. These are the fenders in the back that flop up and down. They look really fragile, though, with that small pin, and I'm wondering whether I should go in after maybe and drill it out and literally put a pin in there because it just seems like it would break very easily. It's pretty well known online that these cast metal parts have a greater shrink rate than the plastic ones do, and so there's a chance that they're not going to fit. And as you see here, the clasp on the front, I'm going to have to do a little bit of filing on this metal to make it work. This is the viewport for the driver. I'm still sorting out how this thing fits into place. It doesn't seem to fit, so I'm going to have to figure this one out. This is the machine gun. A cool little part, isn't it? Moves around with its little ball joint just like the original. One thing I did notice in comparing to the pictures, if you look at the square section that is cut out for the gun, it's a little too tight. I'm going to have to put a little bit of filler in there and round that out a bit. But there's also an LED in place for that gun, so it will fire. So we'll do some nice detailing on that gun as I put it in. I love these. I bought these from Mato. Very nice parts, and they're pretty well detailed. You can see the hatch latches are included. The Taigen includes these little periscopes in plastic, and when you get them from Mato, they're in metal as well. I think the plastic actually would be preferable because the metal doesn't fit very well. That'll have to be filed down as well. And from Taigen now, I got this smoke machine. This is a V2. Their second version of the smoke machine. Apparently it works really well with the variable smoke output that the new Clark TK40 and TK6080 use, and also the new Taigen electronics. Here are some more parts from Mato, and this is for the turret. And I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed with this gunner hatch that's available. Look at all of the nice detail underneath here. Sometimes these things are included with other expensive kits, but on the standard turret, that hatch has nothing on it. I like the update. For quite a while, RC Tanks had this Commander's Cupola, in the wrong position. You got to make sure when you put this thing into place, when you open the hatch, it opens toward the square hatch on the other side. That is the proper positioning for it. This is the escape hatch. On the standard turret from Mato, it doesn't seem to open, so I wonder why it's a separate part at all, except for maybe detailing. It'll make it a little bit easier. Here are the smoke canister ejectors. One thing I do notice that these are in silver. The previous ones I had were in gold. I do have some images of these, and I'll try to put wires into the turret to make it look a little more realistic. On the side here, you'll notice that there are some lifting bodies on the side of the turret. I like how those are completed. And look here, on the Mato unit, this is where the antenna goes. It's not in the proper place on the Hanglongs, but it appears now on the Mato they've moved it to where it actually should be. This is one transmitter that is recommended by Clark Electronics. Their electronics were designed to work with this specific transmitter. This is from FlySky. It is the i6. One thing that's nice is it's S-Bus. It does operate on batteries, however, you can use rechargeable batteries. There are buttons here on the bottom. The little carry handle is made of aluminum. Very nice little detail. It's about a $60 transmitter, and I gotta tell you, I'm kind of impressed by the quality of this transmitter. And it comes with both of your sticks, so they are automatically centered. Apparently, all of the buttons will work very similarly to what you had with the Taigen, the Mato, and the Heng Long transmitters. Here's another bag of parts that I took from a Heng Long tank that I was taking apart. Something like this RX-18 receiver. I won't be using this. I will be using the wires, and I've made sure I'd mark them. This is part one of the series, so you can kind of follow through with me. You'll have my successes and my failures all documented here. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll be alerted as soon as those new videos go up.